Welcome to South Asian Environment Dialogue. Those of you who say this program regularly, we do it every week for the last 8 months or so. We have been discussing the range of issues on environment and climate change in entire South Asia. And as because South Asia is an important cog in the wheel, so we discuss the global scenario. And today we are going to talk about a very, very important scenario, that is the monsoon. Our former Finance Minister Pranab Mukherjee said that monsoon is the actual Finance Minister of India. So that monsoon, what is happening to the monsoon? The discussion about monsoon has become even more important in context to the recently released IPCC report, Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change report, which said that monsoon has been affected by a range of reasons, including air pollution. So we need to get to the root of that. We need to understand what's happening with the monsoon in South Asia, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, in all the countries together. And as I said, this program is brought on by the Climate Channel Canada in collaboration with the Plurals India and the No TV Bangla, a Bangladeshi YouTube channel having more than 80,000 subscribers. And I think no more on introduction, just with that word that this monsoon has been talked about a bit different. There are various pointers being raised that we had a break in the monsoon. There are fewer rainfall, fewer kind of issues of rain events. Then it is surplus, then going down. So all these things are there. So let me introduce a very eminent panel that I have with me for this evening. I have Dr. D S Pai. Dr. Pai is a scientist and head of the Climate Research and Services, Indian Meteorological Department, Government of India. Dr. Pai, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Great. I have my very good friend, Dr. Roxy, Mathew Koll. Dr. Koll has been, I think he's simply busy post IPCC, has been all around. And Dr. Koll is a climate scientist with the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, a monsoon expert. Dr. Koll, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Jayanta. I'm happy to have this important discussion on monsoon, the Finance Minister of India.
Yes, absolutely. That's the Finance Minister of India. And I have with me Dr. Mohan Kumar Das. Dr. Das is the Executive Director, National Oceanographic and Maritime Institute, Bangladesh, having a lot of input, a lot of research on the monsoon in Bangladesh. Welcome, Dr. Das, to the show.
Thank you for your kind invitation, and thank you for that. That's
absolute pleasure and privilege. With no more introduction, let's go over to Dr. Let's start with Dr. Pai. Dr. Pai, what is the trend of the ongoing monsoon in India, or the southwest monsoon in general?
This year, monsoon has been very eventful, as you mentioned earlier. We had in the early part of the season, monsoon came almost at a normal date over Andaman Sea and a bit delayed over southern tip of the country, Kerala. And thereafter, monsoon progress was relatively very fast. And most parts of the South Asia it covered by 3 weeks, almost you can say by June 19 or so. But thereafter there was a significant hiatus in the further progress, and further progress could be possible only after early part of July. That is almost 11th July. It started further progress and covered entire most parts of South Asia by 15th of July or so. And as far as India is concerned, by 13th July, it covered entire part of the country. And as a result, rainfall has been almost normal or slightly above normal, you can say, in the first month, June. But thereafter, in the later part of June and the early part of July, there was again weakened monsoon conditions, and which picked up in the middle of July, and we had a good rainfall activity over central India and northwest India. And though by end of July, the total rainfall was almost 100% normal, we had a weak monsoon conditions in the month of August, and most parts of the day, country as a whole, if you see India, mostly it was every day below normal. Though we got the other part was that though in the early part of monsoon, first 2 months we had a less rainfall in the northeastern and Bangladesh, etc. But we got a better rainfall in the month of August. So overall, if you see, there is a deficiency because of large deficiency in the month of August. we have got a total deficiency of so far around 9% over the country, over India. And however, in Pakistan and Sri Lanka and Nepal, their rainfall is almost normal to above normal. And I think in Bangladesh also it is close to normal. And though we had less rainfall in August, we had occasional good thunderstorm activity over many parts. As a result, crop activity did not impact much.
Okay, we'll come to that, Dr. Pai, but generally you were saying that due to the August, the overall there has been a deficit. So I have been seeing them and seeing some inputs that there has been quite a long break, as you also mentioned. It started and then kind of settled down and then again started. So it's a bit of an unusual in that way. We'll come to that, but before I go to Dr. Koll to know the IPCC report. We all would like to know that. But before that, Dr. Koll, talk about the Indian monsoon this year. Do you think that is it normal or it's really kind of maverick, or is it somewhere in between?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yes, you have to call.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, so I agree to what Dr. Pai said, and he was talking about 9, and today I just cross-checked, and the latest IMD estimate shows it has reached about 10% deficit in terms of all India rainfall. So we can't know for sure how much of a climate change factor is there in this particular year, but there are obvious signals on how the changing monsoon would be. One of the important aspects of a changing monsoon, and this is based on research even published by Dr. Pai and others as well, is that we are having much more long, drier periods intermittent with short spells of heavy rainfall events. And this we saw this year also. We haven't gone into the details on how and why of how it manifested this year, but we saw long dry periods, long break happening, and then intermittent heavy rainfall events scattered across the country in different parts, resulting in floods. So that's the.
That has been the trend for last few years, Dr. Koll. That has been the trend for last few years.
Yeah. So we examined the daily IMD data for the last century or more. And from IMD, the daily data from 1900s, this is the data set which even Dr. Pai was involved in preparing this data set, high resolution data set. And this data set shows that there is a clear trend post 1950s. Yeah. And there is a trend in both the total amount of rainfall that the country is receiving. Also, if you consider South Asia, the total amount of rainfall South Asia is receiving as well. Right. And also in terms of heavy rainfall events. Now, if you look at that, if you try to gauge that with a index like All India Rainfall Index, which is based on the boundary of the country, it is not well evident. Yeah. The borders of the country or the state borders and all. Mm-hmm. So if you look at the regional distribution of rainfall, there are some parts where the total amount of rainfall is decreasing. Okay. Yeah. And at the same time, the heavy rainfall events are increasing. Okay. And we see in our research that there is a threefold rise in extreme rainfall events across parts of Western Ghats and Central India and also parts of Northeast India.
Okay, so there's a threefold rainfall rise in those parts of India. We'll further down try to kind of go to the localized or regional analysis. But before that, let's take quickly the Bangladesh scenario into consideration. Dr. Das, what's happening in Bangladesh? You are having a good rainfall this year?
Thank you. Very, very nice discussion. Especially the discussion already continued through the Dr. D S Pai and Dr. Koll. So the scenario which is seen in very recent month, August, southern part, the coastal belt, it received enormous rain. And though it is not continuous, but in some days the rain is so heavy. You can say some extreme rainfall occurred over some parts of the coastal belt of the regions. And as per the projection, it means some outlook, it indicates that northern part or northeastern part, there will be near normal. So as per the projection outlook, it almost seems similar to that. But in the coastal belt, I just mentioned, it's what projected or what mentioned, it is more than that. It happened in some parts of the region. And but if we consider for the last 3 months, June, July, and August, it's found that in northern part, the overall rainfall indicates below normal, but temperature is near normal, because temperature there is some relationship. And as for the south and western part of the Bangladesh, the rainfall is quite normal, and temperature is above normal. This kind of relationship is there, but it is need to be mentioned that it is not exactly the whole region. In some district or region, the scenario is a bit different. So in the regional scale or localized scale, the scenario is a bit different. But
I'll come to the localized. I'll come to the localized scenario both in Bangladesh and India. That will come to all of you. But before that, let me quickly go over to Dr. Koll again, and then to Dr. Pai, and I'll come back to you as well on the IPCC report. I think the recently released the AR5 report of IPCC, the Working Group 1 report, I think for the first time, so categorically tried to link climate change along with the rainfall, or the monsoon to be more precise. Dr. Koll, India is a country, on most of the South Asian countries, they do depend a lot on rainfall, on the monsoon, because we are agrarian countries. We based on agrarian system, on agriculture. 50% of our working staff depend on agriculture. So if there is a hell of a difference with the monsoon, then the agriculture is going to take the brunt of it. So what's your take on that? What IPCC exactly report is saying about this monsoon pattern being influenced? Dr. Koll.
Yeah, so this time the IPCC clearly says that the change in climate, global climate, is at least for the coming decades, it's beyond our control, because global nations haven't kept up with the commitments, and even the commitments through the Paris Agreement are insufficient to keep the global mean temperatures from going below 1.5 degrees Celsius in the next 2 decades, and 2 degrees Celsius in the subsequent decades. So obviously we are seeing the changes in local climate also, including the monsoon. So this IPCC report talks about the monsoon, both the historical perspective and also gives a future perspective based on climate models. So in the historical perspective, it says that both the South Asian and the Southeast Asian monsoon has declined, has weakened in significant terms during the the latter half of the 20th century, that is between 1950 to 2000s, due to multiple reasons. And the reasons given are obviously due to climate change, but the reasons given are due to the change in aerosols or atmospheric pollution, and also the Indian Ocean warming and land use changes. So multiple factors with the greenhouse warming as a major factor is resulting in this change. And this is in the total amount of rainfall. And at the same time, the heavy rainfall events, the rainfall that happens in a few days, it could be in 2 days or 3 days, or up to 4 and 5 days, like what we saw in the Maharashtra floods recently. Those kind of events are increasing, have increased already. Yeah, we are already seeing an increase. So that's like the total amount of rainfall that we are receiving is slightly going down, and the heavy rainfall events are going up. Yeah, so that is the perspective based on the observations. Now there are future projections based on different scenarios or socio-economic pathways, based on how much we will emit in the coming future. Yeah, so based on that, they are again talking about the total amount of rainfall and also the heavy rainfall events. Yeah? And for the total amount of rainfall, they are presenting a different scenario. They are saying that the total amount of rainfall is going to increase. Yeah? But the IPCC is saying that with a medium confidence. It's not with a high confidence that the IPCC is saying. And the reason is that there are multiple factors, like I said, there is ocean warming, then there is atmospheric pollution, the land use changes. And these models that we use for the IPCC, they have not, and these factors are not well represented in these models to replicate multiple changing scenarios of the monsoon, because monsoon for the rainfall response, we have a thermodynamic response which we generally see in models. So that is when you have the temperatures increase, the air can hold more moisture, and moisture is available in a global warming scenario. So rainfall automatically increases in this in these models. But there is also a dynamic relationship because of the monsoon circulation, because of the monsoon winds which blow from the Indian Ocean towards South Asia and bring that moisture. Yeah. So this dynamic relationship depends on the thermal contrast between land and ocean, not only on the surface but also in their atmospheric column. Yeah. And
but as you said, it's a median confidence. It's in a median confidence.
So the models do not capture all this dynamic relationship very well. So there is a lot of disparity between different models. So, but we know that ultimately the rainfall has to increase as the temperatures goes up, but we don't know when. Yeah.
When and how much, perhaps.
Yeah. So that is about the total rainfall in IPCC. And the heavy rainfall events, all the models unanimously agree that the heavy rainfall events are going to increase further into the future. So this is the picture presented by the IPCC for us in terms of.
So and so it's basically what you said, and I'm taking this question to Dr. Rai, is that before this report, as you said, historical data saying the monsoon rainfall has been curtailed a bit due to multiple factors. And now in the future, with a median confidence, they're saying it will go up, perhaps mainly triggered by the temperature rise, but other factors will come into play as well. So it's a bit of a hunky-dory. It's a different kind of scenario. Dr. Rai, this is what Dr. Koll has just mentioned. It's very interesting because as I said on the outset, that India being an agrarian country, so I think every year before the actual finance minister goes to present the budget, he or she has to consult many people, and the IMD head is one of the key one, because now to know that what kind of rain is going to happen this year. So what's your take on that? What's your take on this IPCC report?
See, I agree, so as Roxy said, as per the IPCC report, decreasing trend is showing a decreasing trend, but at the same time, extreme rainfalls are increasing. But this is what we are seeing, that you should not see only a short period. If you see 100 or 125 years data.
Dr. Rai, sorry to interrupt you, just for a quick clarification, is this data being used by IPCC report, AR5 report, is this data being kind of inconsistency with the IMD data? Is it your data, or there'll be other data being utilized by them? Is it consistent with the IMD data which being used by the IPCC report?
So it is based on multiple research publications, which are based on IMD, primarily IMD, and also other data sets.
Okay, I understand. Dr. Rai, please go ahead.
Yeah,
it's Dr. Pai actually.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
yes, Dr. Pai.
So I was telling that if you see 1875 rainfall time series since that, up to 1920, there was a below normal epoch, and then 40 to 70, you had above normal epoch. Then again, we are now passing through, below normal epoch. So this is a multi-decadal natural variability of rainfall. So you have to also, not only I agree that climate change is actually, there is an impact, but there is also very strong natural variability of the monsoon. So this decrease in rainfall also can be as a part of natural variability. Okay, but what we are seeing is that it's a going very long time, 70 to 1950. But eventually it is likely to go up. So as the projected by climate change, again, then we have to see the more important aspect is that if both because of natural variability and climate change, if rainfall is increasing, that can be really increased. So that is one aspect. And as far as the extreme rainfall is concerned, we are observing in the west coast, central India, and even in the northeastern part. Though northeastern part, northeast India, the total rainfall is decreasing. There is increase in the extreme rainfall, both in the central India as well as west coast. But total rainfall, if you see the last 100 years, that there is no trend at all.
Okay.
Only in the recent years, there is a decrease. So we are not sure. That may be the reason, even the projection also, there is not much confidence to say. But however, observed data is indicating definitely there is an increase in the heavy rainfall events, mainly associated with climate change. And there is also a drought event, break events are also increasing. So that aspect also can be, like we are observing other part of the globe, it can be linked to that. So
Okay.
it is not that extreme rainfall was not happening earlier. It is only that the frequency of extreme events are increasing.
No, let me ask a very naive question. Is that monsoon and the rainfall, can we kind of talk in same language, or we need to talk in different language? Because I saw the report, I was going through the report for my own professional work, and I find that there's some places they are talking a lot on the monsoon. In other areas, they're talking about the rainfalls and heavy precipitation like that. So should we take them together, or what it is actually?
Yeah,
Right?
there is a specific criteria for the.
I'm coming to Dr. Dash. I'm coming to you for the Bangladesh, but Dr. Rai respond to it. That should we take it together?
Yeah. See, actually, the monsoon is one of the most, most eventful climate system, very planetary system. So that's why it is important, and it is very stable system, which is coming. You will see that June to September that you get a southwest monsoon and well-defined region. Other regions are not that much well-defined. That's why you get, when you precipitation is discussed, always you get
In the
more
monsoon
importance.
context.
And it is the tropical region. So whereas when you go to extra tropics and other regions, the rainfall, causing systems are different. In fact, day-to variations are more than the mean rainfall. Whereas in the Indian monsoon or Asian monsoon, there is a seasonal rainfall is more rather than to day-to-day variation.
Okay, so seasonal rainfall is the dominant factor out there. I'll come to the regional part of it, but let's go to Dr. Dash. Dr. Dash, as you was talking about this IPCC report, Bangladesh situation. I know that a few days back there was a very high-profile meeting in Bangladesh with perhaps Dr. Saiful Islam making a keynote address about this IPCC report and the implication on Bangladesh and like that. And all your senior environmental experts were there, your government senior officials were there. So what's the situation? How Bangladesh is grappling with this whole report? How they're seeing this report?
Thank you. Luckily, I was in the meeting, so that's the very great thing. And our former Chief Cabinet Minister Secretary, Mr. Abul Kalam Azad, he was the anchoring and moderating that total sessions. So it is very effective in the sense that all the high policy making scientists, they're incorporating in the meeting. So I think that's the one kind of science with the social outreach and the policy briefing. So this kind of negotiation talk was there. So I found that in that meeting, as you mentioned, Professor Saiful Islam sir was there, Dr. Aninisha sir was there, and Dr. Atik Rahman. Many prominent figure was there.
Salimul Haq sir was there.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot to mention. Salimul Haq sir also there. So all those things and come up with some discussion end of the meeting. There is open discussion, panel communication and others. So hopefully within short time, they will come for some other discussion and they will try to make some policy dialogue, how they can negotiate with the main authority and how they can implement these kinds of, especially Solomon sir very much focus on the loss and damage aspect. So especially as you mentioned in maybe some discussion, Sundarban aspects. So if our coastal belt is very much vulnerable and Sundarban is the one of the protector from the cyclone prone activities. So that's why we need some more dialogue. We need some policy initiative, which will be much more effective for not only for Bangladesh, actually all the coastal belt, including the eastern part of the India itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also
support the Bay of Bengal and all that.
Yeah, exactly. And also one more point I want.
What is Bangladesh? What is the prediction for Bangladesh in the IPCC report on monsoon?
Actually, that is a very good point. This is the first time this is the sixth assessment report, as you mentioned, AR6 report, Working Group 1 report. So that this is the first time the much more regional details are incorporated.
Sure.
So still there is no to the point fact sheet for the Bangladesh. Maybe as far I have checked, but regional fact sheet is there for the Asian context, monsoon context, these things. So we need to go through more and we need to come out with some more decision, I think, quickly
Okay.
with a short time. Yeah.
Great. Dr. Koll, I think there's a learning curve for India there. That in Bangladesh, all the experts and the policymakers, they sat together. I know that meeting. In fact, I was invited to be part of that. I couldn't be for a different engagement. But that's a very interesting way of engagement with policymakers and the experts talking together, how the whole thing can be. Unfortunately, we didn't have this kind of interaction in India. We should have, perhaps somewhere down the line.
I agree with you totally. I agree.
Absolutely.
With you totally.
I think people like you should
I
take the
see a
initiative.
lot of, sorry for interrupting, but I see a lot of discussion with scientists and environmentalists on climate change in India. It's happening across India, but a discussion with policymakers, that's important.
Exactly. In fact,
Maybe you should have invited one here.
In fact, if you do a survey, within the policymakers in India, especially at the state level, and if you ask that about the IPCC report, I'm sure about 70% hasn't heard of it, and the 30% who have heard of it only know the temperature is rising. So nothing more, nothing less. So that is the scenario. It should change somewhere down the line. I'm not singling out anybody, but it should change.
Positive stories actually. Recently, I have been writing on the IPCC report and the salient points from the report based on from an Indian perspective and how it is changing for India, how India is on crossroads. And after seeing some of this, especially those that came in the print media, some local policymakers actually contacted me and they wanted to sit with scientists and experts on to see what kind of adaptation or disaster management that they can do and what they are expecting in the future.
Absolutely great. Absolutely great. It's an extremely good example. Which state that is? Which state? From which state you have been contacted?
This from Maharashtra and this again from Kerala. Maharashtra
Great.
And Kerala.
Absolutely good. I think Dr. Pai and Dr. Koll, I think this should be taken forward. But very quickly to the regional part of it. Dr. Pai was talking about the natural variability of monsoon. I can remember, I'm from Calcutta in West Bengal. I know that last year or the year before, in close to Farakka on Ganges, the NTPC, the thermal power plant had to be stopped for 5 days because there was no adequate water in the Ganges because there was the rainfall, the monsoon was delayed. So this even West Bengal had a delayed monsoon about 30 days couple of years back. And at the peak of monsoon, some areas was declared as drought prone. So Dr. Koll, what do you take about this regional variability in India? What part of India is being more affected? What's your take on that?
Well, I think across India we have different kind of challenges.
Sure.
The coastal cities have their own challenges with not only the monsoon behaving erratically, but also with the cyclones and the sea level rising. And other parts of India, you talked about the Ganges and all the Indo-Gangetic plain. So one aspect that I want to bring is the states that are in the foothills of the Himalayas. The Himalayas are also changing. So that's another aspect that the IPCC report has brought out. So the glacial retreat is happening. And the one interesting aspect is while the snowfall rate is decreasing across most of the regions, except some regions like the Karakoram, the snowfall rate is decreasing. The rainfall is increasing at the same time over these regions. So this presents different scenarios, the glacial retreat and all for the downstream communities. So, and especially during drought periods, this can be aggravated because the downstream, the water coming downstream could be lesser and lesser in the future as glaciers retreat. And if we are having local droughts also, and along with heat waves. So this is a scenario that is presented in the IPCC. We call it compound events, when multiple extreme events overlap, like a drought and a heat wave, and the water coming downstream is also coming dry. So these kind of scenarios can come up much more frequently. Personally, I don't know locally how it is manifesting as of now, but that is a scenario, and that is and recent research actually shows that these Indo-Gangetic plains where the agriculture is intensive due to failure in agriculture. It could be related to changes in monsoon and the downstream water and all, but also other factors also probably. The population is migrating from these agriculture intensive regions to coastal cities and mega cities like it could be Delhi also, but also mostly Mumbai, cities like Mumbai and Kolkata and other cities where they are experiencing a different kind of climate challenges.
Absolutely.
So on the west coast and the east coast, you have challenges due to cyclones and all, and we already see especially on the west coast that in the Arabian Sea, not only the number but also the intensity and the duration of cyclones are increasing. So after monsoon, we will think that the monsoon, the vagaries of the monsoon is over. But after post monsoon, we have again the cyclone season of October, November.
Exactly. That's why I was talking about this monsoon and precipitation. There's two factors coming into the picture. Great. I think let's take the same question, Dr. Wright. You were talking about the regional variability in India. Would you be a bit more specific that which part of India are being fine, which part are under, below par, which are over? Dr. Pai, any specification on that?
Yeah. See, when you discuss even climate change, though it is a global, impact is actually local. So it's very important.
Absolutely.
Okay. So if you see seasonal total rainfall, if you see, last several years, Northeast getting less rain. In fact, it may be good in one way because it was getting totally very large rain, large rainfall. So it would have made more disruption, but decrease may not be much impacting there. But otherwise, even Kerala is another state. You will see that in the southern part, which is showing a decreasing rainfall. Even extreme rainfall events are, if you see West Coast itself, Kerala having a decreasing rain, even extreme events. Surprisingly, but in other part, more north of West Coast and central part of the country, the rainfall actually, again, as I said, rainfall is decreasing and small rainfall events are decreasing, but extreme rainfall events are increasing. That means that rainfall, whatever you are achieving, it's in a small time of period, So for example, in the Madhya Pradesh itself, you can see that when in July, in a very short period, it covered a lot of rain. Almost it was highly large deficient, East MP. Now it is surplus by 10%. So it rained almost 10 to 15 days. You got almost 2 months or 3 months rainfall.
Exactly.
So those type of events are actually increasing, and northern part also, as in many parts of Himachal and other parts, your extreme rainfall events are increasing. But again, last few years, total rainfalls are showing decrease. So overall,
that's the general trend.
Yeah, it's a general trend, most parts. But as I said again, when you see decadal variation also, part by part, there can be some variation. One decade, one multi-decade, you may have got increased rainfall in some region. So that's why in total rainfall, when you take, not much difference.
So can we say that there's no pattern? We can't find any pattern so far. Can we say that there's no specific pattern of, say, eastern region rainfall is going down, the western going up? So there's no as such pattern. Is there any pattern you can observe?
Yeah, it is difficult to localize actually because monsoon is a planetary scale system. So you have to take a large scale. You should not average in one state or one district.
No local pattern can be.
Yeah, so one district maybe several years you may be having less rain, but you have to actually examine large part of monsoon because it's being a planetary scale.
Okay, fine. I'll come into the last round of questions. We have about 10 minutes with us, starting with Dr. Dash. Dr. Dash, while IPCC report talked about the monsoon being rainfall has gone down a bit for the last few decades, it may go up in the future with medium confidence, as Dr. Koll pointed out. But it is also pointing out the urban centers, the mega urban centers in India, in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, in other parts of South Asia are going to get that extreme heavy rainfall as a short burst. And with the kind of infrastructure that we have, the drainage infrastructure and the others, we are really in for trouble. So what's the situation in Bangladesh? Are you also in the same line?
Yeah, that is a very crucial question, I can say. Because you see, just today scenario in the northwestern portion, that is already been flood signal is given because of the not only because of the extreme rainfall occurring on those regions, not like that. Because of the Brahmaputra river, there is a water, what is called, level is more increases. So that is one important concern for that. And as you mentioned in the sixth assessment report, it also provides some specific what is called risk assessment related adaptation and decision making procedure, how it can be incorporated, especially the heat event, cold event, snow, wind, coastal flooding. These things are incorporated, and it is mentioned very much precisely, especially the societal impact and ecosystem aspect. So
Okay.
this is there. So and hydrology is very much different kinds of things, and especially our region hydrology is still not discovered that much what actually community needed. So that kinds of limitation is still persistent.
I'm very quickly, I'm just running out of time. That are your cities gearing up to counter this sudden burst of rainfall that is expected and being now formalized through this IPCC report? Are the cities like Dhaka, Chattogram, Khulna, are they prepared to counter the heavy rainfall with the short duration, or they are not?
Very important question. Just I maybe wanted to mention, like you say, there are some extreme rainfall suddenly occurred over some city region or some mountainous region, and instantly landslide and some other kinds of devastating event occurred, and huge life losses are there. Of course, government taking the initiative, government taking the plan, but then Chittagong City Corporation, or
We need
I
to-
am
we need
actually
to be
from the
more-
Chittagong, is still not that much community.
That capacity
what they
building has
deserve,
not been done.
what they are deserving, what they need, it is still not that much.
Sure,
In-
fine. I understand the point that you made. Dr. Rai, the same question is that Indian cities, we have seen what's happened in Mumbai year after year. We have seen what happened in Chennai. We have seen what happened in Kolkata. We happened in Delhi. So, what's your take on that? Now, IPCC formalizing this unusual behavior of precipitation. How you suggest the cities can gear themselves better to counter?
See, as far as climate change is concerned, as per the prediction, since you cannot control, even if you reduce the greenhouse gases emission now, you are going to have extreme events, this type of impact for the next several decades. So the best way is that.
But at least if you cut down now, after several decades, you will going to stop.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
How
you
to
continue
adapt.
to have that.
That's very important. So therefore, we have to adapt to that. So we have to put, several strategy has to be.
Sure.
First thing is that monitoring these events is the most important thing. So you will see that already in India, we have started automatic, weather stations in every city. The network has been increased several, times. So even in Mumbai itself, we have got several dedicated AWS to measure only and ARG to measure only rainfall events, extreme events. That is the important thing. And warn the, well advanced, warn the people. That is most important. The other is that you also improve the prediction skill.
Exactly.
Yeah. So therefore, IMD since 2010 under Monsoon Mission project, we have developed several dynamical, model forecasting system to make forecast nowcasting. That means every 3 hour forecast, 6 hours forecast, and next 10 days forecast, and similarly next 4 weeks forecast. So extreme events we are trying to improve, and not only that,
the response gets better. So response gets better.
Yeah,
Okay.
for that infrastructure has to be improved. So we have got the supercomputing system to run this type of models, which have got 10 petaflop now,
Okay.
which is the fourth best computing system in the world for as far as weather forecasting is concerned, after Japan, UK, and the US. So we have developed.
So basically, you are building up this scientific infrastructure to predict in a much more robust manner.
Yeah.
I just assume that this robustness carries on from IMD to the governance at the local level. Dr. Koll, final take is yours. What do you think that with this, how the cities should combat? What is the prescription you will give out for the cities, the people who run the cities? How would you like them to respond to this situation?
So I will continue on what Dr. Pai said. Obviously, our early warning systems have improved, and we are able to predict and thoroughly do evacuation. But what are we doing? Every year, we are expecting these extreme rainfall events or cyclones, right? And the maximum we are doing is, okay, we are giving early warning system and we are evacuating people, but we cannot keep on evacuating people. Their lives are obviously saved. Like if you look at from earlier focus to current, especially with cyclones and all, we have come down from 5-digit number fatalities to two-digit number fatalities. Yeah, so that's a huge improvement. But while saving lives, we are not saving livelihoods. There is damage to property. There is loss to, I mean, we are talking about cities, but if you look at the rural areas, there is damage to agriculture, cars, or loss of property, public infrastructure is lost. So we need a long-term vision. And this vision should be based on a risk assessment of, whether the climate change elements in terms of floods, droughts, and other cyclones as well, and increasing sea level. So based on this, I also would like to say that while climate change is global, the impact and the challenges are always local. So what Mumbai might be having may be totally different from what Chennai is having or a rural area might be having. So based on this, each local administration should prepare a local action plan on how to disaster-proof their region, whether it's a city or a district. In fact, I had communication with a district collector from Thrissur in Kerala. They were interested because they have been lashed with cyclones and heavy rainfall events and flooding in the recent period, and they want to know what to do. So this kind of initiative should come up from each local administration.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because globally there is a limitation for what IMT or a national plan can do. We need local action plan.
Okay, great. I think we had a great discussion for the last 40 minutes, and my takeaway from this discussion is this, that while the science is increasing rapidly, the IPCC report very clearly underlines the improvement of science. The kind of simple language the IPCC report has used this time has been unparalleled. I think there's less of jargons, more clear-cut opinions on the board. But unfortunately, the governance is yet to be at par with the science. The way science is moving and predicting, as Dr. Rai was pointing out, that the kind of IMD, the kind of scenarios and the other things they are not predicting, that Dr. Koll was saying, Dr. Das was saying, I think the time is up when our administration, our government people, both at the macro level and the micro level, at the local level, be a panchayat pradhan, be a mayor, be a state level chief minister, be the kind of central level minister, they need to understand that climate change and this kind of irregularity in monsoon is no longer an academic exercise. It's all about the lives of people. And as Dr. Koll has been very, very clearly pointed out, I completely agree with that. Life and livelihood. I've seen myself in Sundarbans, how the lives could be saved, but livelihoods were not. So I think it's high time. We should learn from Bangladesh the way they interacted with their policymakers and the scientists. I think the policymakers in India as well, maybe in other countries in South Asia, Pakistan, Colombo, Sri Lanka and others, should be more interaction, more interface. And we should be better prepared, more prepared to combat and counter the climate change and combat the vagaries of monsoon. So much today. I think great discussion, and another day, another time. Thank you everybody for your time. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jay.
Thank you very much.
Have to move far away from your job or school or family to afford your rent. You shouldn't lose a bidding war on your home to speculators. It's time for things to change. We'll help you buy your first home sooner and launch a new rent-to-own program. We'll crack down on the predatory speculators that stack the deck against you. So no more blind bidding. No more foreign wealth being parked in homes that people should be living in. And to get one